Ladies and gentlemen, in the beginning of this case, and as my trial partner has told you, this is all a facade. It's been a facade since 2015. And the facade has continued, or attempted to continue, throughout the 2-3 weeks that we've been here on trial. Now, I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with these folks. The Turpins. Case out of California, where a couple was holding their 13 children in the house, ranged from ages of 29 down to 2. And they were keeping them in that house, chained, and they were beating them and torturing them. Until, fortunately enough, their 17-year-old daughter, who, by the way, appeared to be about 10 or 12 when the police finally got to them, said, "Please come help. We are being held by our parents for years. We're being beaten, we're being chained to our beds, and barely being fed." But ladies and gentlemen, the Turpins were out. They were taking pictures, going on family vacations, having wedding vow renewals. On the outside, it looked all good. But on the inside, those children told stories of horror. That's what we have here today. But the Rosenbaums, they don't do what the Turpins did, because what the Turpins did was they took responsibility for their actions, and they played guilty. While the Rosenbaums are like the Turpins, they're not willing to take responsibility for their actions. So you know what? The state has to make them do it, and that's why we're here. Now, the defense, they have a difficult job. And like my trial partner, Mr. Chase, I once had that job, believe it or not. I was a defense attorney. And it's a difficult job. Ms. Moe has a difficult job because she has to get up here and try to convince you that these people are good people. That's difficult. They want to tell you that, oh, don't believe all these credible witnesses that have come forward. Believe these unworthy of belief people that have come forward. And I'm going to talk to you about that later on. But what they want to tell you is what they want you to believe is that it's all zebras. These are horses. That's what they want you to buy. The unreasonable. But ladies and gentlemen, there's nothing that's unreasonable about the facts of this case and the evidence that has been presented to you about these defendants. They're guilty. But what they bring to you is what I call distractions, not reasonable doubt. And like Mr. Chase told you, we have the responsibility of the burden of proof. It's called a burden, but I think it's my duty. I think it's my duty to you as a prosecutor in the state of Georgia to bring you credible, believable, reliable information and evidence. The defense doesn't have that burden. So they can get up here and they can say anything they want to, no matter how much it doesn't make sense. And I submit to you that that's what Ms. Moe has done. She's brought you stuff that is not reasonable doubt. It's just distractions. But I got to talk about it just in case somebody on the jury believes some of these distractions, because I have a burden. So I'm going to talk about them before I talk about the evidence, which is what you should consider. So what are some of the distractions? Well, she kind of went away from this when at first she said this was a political conspiracy. They kind of tried to get into it with Donald Cleveland came in there and said, "Oh, you're that Jennifer Rosenbaum." But then they let it die down because, see, there's nothing to corroborate this conspiracy because what do we know? She was an intern at the DA's office. She skipped through the process to become a foster parent. What did she tell Mr. Odipo? "Do you know who I am? You must not know." So how is there a conspiracy when she feels like she has enough political clout that she can talk to the DFACS worker who's talking about her home evaluation to get around things? There's no political conspiracy. And even despite the concerns of Ms. Lambert, which we're going to talk about, there was no visits that were decreased with these kids. In fact, she didn't even have to take the impact class that maybe she would have learned the CPR that she claims she don't know. But I have issue with that. And then she got emails from the supervisor at the DA's office. And not just the DA's office, but the judge. So there is no political conspiracy. Oh, Joseph Rosenbaum, he wasn't there. He was at work. He worked 2 jobs. How could he know? Oh, he's not involved. Not at all. He didn't see the girls. He lived there. How could he have not seen them? He took care of them. Don't believe my witnesses. Believe some of what they witnesses say, because there's a little bit of truth in every lie. And why don't they just get up here and tell you their last witness, he bathed them, he cared for them. With Kimball, she was was our witness, but really she was their witness. And what did she tell you? He bathed them, he cared for them, he changed diapers. So he saw these girls. Old bruises, and that's what's important, because see, they want you to believe that every single bruise on these girls happened on November the 17th. But y'all get to use your common sense. And you can look at those girls' bodies and you can tell there are new and old injuries. And he was in that house and he saw them and he did nothing, and that's why he sits right next to his wife. Because he is just as responsible as she is. Oh, his education didn't allow him to know anything. They brought his professor in, I think, right? To talk about, oh, the girls are so well behaved. So he has enough to know, if I look at a bruise and it looks yellow, that must be old. If I look at a bruise and it looks purple, it must be new. But I'm going to talk about what he actually saw in a little while. The doctors didn't even know, so how would he supposed to know? Well, first of all, the doctors didn't know initially because the injuries didn't exist when the girls was going to the doctors and seeing them. When they went to Dr. Duxbury, Layla didn't have a broken arm on October the 20th. I submit to you that it happened after that. That's why they didn't find it. We're not asking him to find something that a doctor couldn't even find. It was nothing to find at that point. And all the bruises that we saw, the new bruises, they existed on November the 17th. But we've got to talk about them. Oh, well, see, they don't want you to talk about both. They want to separate them out. And then the injuries to Layla's arm, nobody even knew until they did. The medical doctors looked at it and said, EMT, that don't look right. And then they did a skeletal survey. And now, oh, we notice her arm is broken. And they want you to believe, oh, but Millie's riding her bike on November the 11th, so there's no way that her arm could have been broken. We don't submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, that the arm just stays broken. Once it's broken, you can't use it no more. Our bodies are amazing. When you don't treat them, they start to treat themselves. Her body had started to heal, and so she can use her arm. Doesn't mean that it wasn't broken, because we all know it was broken because we looked at the x-rays. And like I said, he's not charged just because we charged his wife. He's charged because he is responsible. Your failure to act is just as responsible as you're doing the act itself, especially when you're her husband, especially when you live in that house, and especially when you don't just have a responsibility to her, you have a responsibility to Millie and Layla. And you failed him. That is why he's sitting there. Due process, oh, it was a rush to judgment. Oh, they were thinking of all kinds of things. This was a complete investigation, ladies and gentlemen. So much so that this happened in 2015. We are in 2019. That doesn't feel rushed to me, and I'm certain it doesn't feel rushed to this family, who has been waiting on justice for years. And it wasn't a rush to judgment because of Henry County, because they got off the case. They said, you know what, it's too close, we're going to step back. That's why the DA's office from DeKalb County is here. Cobb County was on the case. They said, you know what? We don't want there to appear to be a bias, some type of influence. We're going to step back. And then she talked to you about those 49 counts. Absolutely, ladies and gentlemen. Because what I don't do is I don't let you slide. You're going to be held accountable for each and everything that you did to those children. I'm not going to let you slide like Defects has let you slide, like your husband has let you slide, like the system has allowed you to slide. You will be held accountable for each injury that you inflicted on these children. 49 is too many. But that's why we're here. Due process. They getting their trial. They having their day in court. And I believe in it wholeheartedly. Because it requires for you, like-minded people, reasonable people with common sense, to make a decision on their guilt or innocence. Oh, it's the media. They just doing all of this to get the media because the cameras are here. Believe you me, ladies and gentlemen, the last thing I want to do is be on YouTube. I don't want the media to be here. But the media being here has nothing to do with the facts of the case. The evidence that's been presented to you. The photographs you have seen, the x-rays you have seen, the testimony you have heard. Just because a camera's in the room, that don't change that. It's a lawsuit and it's a show trial. Ladies and gentlemen, none of that. And she says, oh, they got 3 DA's office and 3 attorneys. Let me tell you why we got 3 attorneys, ladies and gentlemen. Because it takes 3 attorneys to combat the lies of these defendants. If you notice, we each took a part. Ms. Andrews helped with Millie so you can understand what she was going through. Mr. Chase was much smarter than me. He took those medical doctors because he understands it. And I take the lay witnesses because I know when I see a liar. allegations of starvation. We got common sense, ladies and gentlemen. You get to use it. You look at that baby in July and look at her in November. Just to the eye, there's a difference. What did Ms. Lambert tell you? That's not the baby that I gave them in July. But don't just believe me. Don't believe Ms. Lambert.
I'm like convicted of her when she first came over. I'm like, oh my gosh, I wasn't with my mom. I'm not doing that. It seems like all her baby tests going on.
That's what she said. She saw it. She getting skinny. I'm concerned. Are we doing something wrong? No, they weren't doing nothing wrong with feeding her. It was the beating part that was the wrong. Donnell Noir. Oh, we brought her in to talk about the scratch from the bear that Millie said. What was the first question out of her mouth? About Tessa Daniel. Didn't she tell you that she would do anything for meth? That was her focus, because they want you to look at Tessa. And I'll tell you, ladies and gentlemen, Tessa will not get Mother of the Year. But what I will tell you is she didn't beat her kids. She didn't brutalize them. She didn't burn them. She didn't make them eat vomit. She didn't pull out their hair. Does she have a drug addiction? Absolutely. But let me tell you something. Tessa Daniel's not on trial. They want to put everybody else on trial except for the people that are on trial. When you get that indictment, it says Jennifer Rosenbaum and Joseph Rosenbaum. You won't see Tessa Daniel's name on there. You won't see Peggy Banks' name on there. You won't see Patricia Lambert's name on there. And you certainly won't see Millie Place's name on there. Donna Ward said, oh, we had to bring her. They didn't want you to. Ladies and gentlemen, she was our witness. You see, we was orchestrating a lot of people. And Ms. Ward, she had to go out of town the day we were going to call her. So we said, ma'am, we're not going to keep holding you up because we've held up a lot of people's lives with this trial. So it's not that we're trying to hide anything from you. It takes a lot for this to happen. The defendants crying at the hospital, I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, they already knew about their bruising and they knew they was going to have to explain. So those tears are lack thereof, because I'll let y'all decide about those tears. But the crying or the wailing that Samantha White says she heard, for herself, that was for Jennifer Rosenbaum. Because she knew the facade had been unrevealed. They can see it now. You can't hide it under clothes no more. You can't hide it with putting a filter on a picture no more. You're being called out for who you are. They said they gave him healthy food, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you heard it came from the jail. They was feeding chicken nuggets from the jail. I mean, take it for what you may. Oh, the family trusted them because they believed the facade. They bought into it. What did they tell you at the hospital? Even at the hospital, they are embracing them. They are crying for them. These people believed them. They trusted them. And now they want to badger them and make them feel bad about trusting them. You can't have it both ways. This is what you put out. Believe me, trust me. But when they started to figure out, it's just a front. What did they do? They called the police and said, you know what, now that I think about it, some things that I saw, and ladies and gentlemen, they didn't see Layla's back. They didn't see no x-rays of broken bones. They saw bumps and bruises, and she gave explanations that most people would say, oh, okay, that sounds reasonable, because they didn't know who they were really dealing with. But when they did, they called the police. And they brought everybody in here. They took them out in public. Oh, they did all these wonderful things. When they went out, they had clothes on. And most of these people said, I didn't even see them close in time to when this happened. And if I did, they had clothes on. I wasn't changing them. I wasn't taking care of them. And I know there was a couple of people who came in here and said that. I'll talk about them later. And the girls love them. And I'll talk to you about why. Because you heard from Anita Whitmore, kids still love their abusers. And you have your common sense. There are kids that are being abused over and over again, unfortunately. But they cling to their abusers because they're young. They're conflicted. They don't understand. You have people, grown people, that are involved in domestic violence relationships that still do the same thing, no matter that the person is beating them, because it's confusing. This person's supposed to love me, but they're beating me. I don't understand. And definitely at 4, at 2, you're not going to be able to figure out what do I do with this? Pictures. They brought in a whole bunch of pictures that they wanted to show y'all. They look all nice, but what did Millie tell you? When she was living with the Rosenbaum, I was sad. So the pictures are nothing more than a political prop. She took these kids to meetings, to law school, to commissioner board meetings, young Republicans meetings, all as a prop. She's running for office, and what looks better than a child from foster care that now I'm fostering these 2 kids whose mom is so horrible, and I'm giving them this good life. I'm putting them on these pretty clothes. I'm putting bows in their hair. I'm taking them places, and what did that baby say? The only one who's still here to talk. I was sad. Because she knew that it was a facade, it was a front. Wild accusations. They said we was going to give you wild accusations, ladies and gentlemen. I think they rolled out the punches. And they continue to roll them out all through closing. Daycare, seatbelt, orange juice, diaper rashes, bikes, jumping on the bed, ladies and gentlemen. We're not talking about multiple jumps. She got bruises in the front of her head, on the top of her head, on the side of her head, on the back of her head. It's unbelievable. It's unreasonable to think that that's what happened. And yesterday it was a kicker, and sometimes I try not to let my emotions get to me, but when they said it came, too much, it's despicable. It's distasteful. But that's what they're doing, because that's who they are. Patricia Lambert, she's not on trial. She saw bruises on those girls, and no matter how small they may seem to you or to the defendants, it was huge to her, because she said, I didn't send that baby looking like that, and you brought her back here looking like that, and that's a problem. And she says, oh, well, she told me that Joseph was spanking her, and they were being dragged down the stairs. Millie was with her for 3 months after this happened. And you heard from everybody, Millie would just sometimes just say something, just spontaneously. So did she think, oh, let me go pick up the phone and call the police right now? So maybe, no, she didn't tell the police, because maybe when they were sitting at her kitchen table, Millie hadn't made those disclosures yet. But for 3 months, she was there. And then you hear after that, she's still continuing to disclose. And if you remember what Ms. Whitmore said, and I think she's testified before, it's like an onion. It's layers. It comes out in layers. They don't disclose all at once. They don't sit down and say, let me tell you, blah, bit by bit by bit. And I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, we all still don't know all that happened to that baby on their watch. They said she's here because of the media. She wanted to get her 15 minutes of fame. What did the people tell you from defects that they wanted to bring in? Because I think at first they were trying to insinuate that Miss Lambert was abusing her, and when that got knocked down because the case was unsubstantiated, oh, now she's here because she wants to be on TV. What did they tell y'all back then in 2016? She said, I can't take it no more. The media is calling me, they want interviews, they're asking too many questions. I'm done. I don't want to be involved. So for them now to say that she's here for some media ploy is disingenuous. And Peggy, she's a racist. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, what she is. But I will submit to you that maybe it's embarrassing to come in here and speak in public and say, I said I want my kids with a white family. I don't like homosexuals. And that she didn't fess up to that. But ladies and gentlemen, I would say to you, last I looked, KKK, they wear them white hoods on their face, over their heads, because they don't want nobody to know who they are. They want to hide their identity. So is it embarrassing for her to come in here and say, I said those things? And I would say she didn't say exactly that. She said, I prefer them to be with a white Christian family. They have interpreted that she's a racist. Maybe she just wants her kids with somebody they've been through enough. I need them to be in an environment that they know. People that know them. And let's all be real. And it may not be politically correct, but that's what people prefer. Because it's a commonality that you have. Does it make it wrong? That's not for me to judge, and I would submit it's not for you to judge. She was trying to keep this baby, fighting for 2 years, and then ultimately she said, I'm going to relinquish her, I'll give her to Amanda. What she is guilty of is maybe having an inappropriate conversation in front of Millie, saying things that she shouldn't have said, talking about death in front of Millie, talking about the custody issues that was going on. But at no time has anybody said that Peggy Banks told Millie to tell lies about what the Rosenbaums did to her. Never. But they want to insinuate that so you can be distracted. Never said she told her to lie. She disciplined her with a fly swatter, and I think yesterday they was trying to say a cane. Disgraceful. She was attempting to save Layla's life. A lie. The EMT caused the injury. She was dead when they got there. So any injury you saw on that baby was inflicted by her. The Heimlich CPR, I submit to you, no, the Heimlich didn't kill her. No, CPR didn't kill her, because she didn't do it. Did she knee her? Did she punch her? Did she stomp her? That's what she did when she got in the kitchen. When she was flailing and her eyes are rolling back in her head and she's pale, that's what she sees. I don't think she ever patted her on the back. I don't think she ever pressed on her stomach. You get to listen to the 911 call and see, does she sound like she's been breathing hard, pressing hard? I say no. And I think the most despicable thing of all, Millie is a liar. That's what they said, ladies and gentlemen. They brought witness after witness after witness to call that baby a liar. She told Whoppers, I had 2 children. My son lies about cleaning up his room and brushing his teeth every day. He turned 13 today and he's still doing it. But does that mean if he comes and tells me that somebody did something to him to hurt him, that I'm going to say, well, you know you lied about that, so you must be lying about this? That's unreasonable. Peggy and Amanda, well, they brought in the twisted ankle. She didn't even talk about it because it really don't make no sense to talk about it. But I just put it in there because who knows what they're going to talk about. They're caring for a child with trauma. Millie is telling them things that sounds outlandish and outrageous. I get whippings for falling asleep in the car. So she's telling them things that they don't, in their minds, feel like that's crazy because they're not abusers. It could seem like, is she really telling the truth? Or is this something else? What did the doctor say? She fantasizes to remove herself from traumatic memories. So when she starts talking about a bear scratching, I think it's much easier for a child to think about a bear scratching than the person that they call Mama Jensen or Mr. Jello. Let me try to take that out of my mind because it hurts too bad. It's too hard to think about. Coping mechanisms, that's what Donna talked to you about. She manifests or memories about her biological family. Who wouldn't want to do that? When you come from, you've been moved from pillar to post, your mom's on drugs, your dad's in jail, would you start making up stories about, oh, my mom's a nurse, my dad's a doctor? Because and especially when you're in school and other people are talking about their parents, you want to fit in. You don't want to be that oddball out, especially when you're 6 or 7. So is she making up stuff that's not true? But what does she tell you is always positive stuff, not negative, like they want to make it out to be. Repeating truthful information. Layla's pancreas was split in half. It's not a lie. And they talked about her not disclosing early on, and they put, I think, Mr. Powell up to talk about the multiple interviews that she had. But what did he tell you? Oh, I'm not up on the most recent studies. And Ms. Andrews pointed out, well, you've heard that multiple interviews have shown that you have less likelihood of having false reports. Because as my grandmama said, the truth is the truth is the truth. No matter how many people ask you, how many times they ask you, if it's the truth, it's going to remain the truth. See, they don't understand that, but we're going to talk about that later. Because when they get asked certain things, it keeps changing. It keeps evolving like lies do. Family influences. They want to tell you Millie is saying these things because Peggy told her to say these things. Who was her first exposure to? 12-year-old Kaya Lambert, when she was back in a place where she felt safe. Not to Peggy, not to Tessa, not to Ms. Brown, but Kaya Lambert, the child. So I guess Kaya is lying now. Everybody is a liar except for those 2 sitting over there. But you know what? Millie's not a liar when it benefits them. Oh, well, first of all, not until she started telling the truth about them did she become a liar. On all those 3.5 months that they had her going to talk to Miss White, never did they say, you know what, we're having a problem with Millie telling lies. But when she started, oh, Joseph never abused her. Believe Millie when she says that. Oh, we fell at gymnastics. She's not lying about that. Layla fell in a hole when it's convenient. That's when they want you to say, oh, well, no, she's not a liar about that. And I think it was real important. They showed her, I don't know how many pictures. And I've been doing this for a long time, and I do child cases. Never have I seen a defense attorney put a child through almost an hour-long cross-examination. It's distasteful. And it made me angry. Why would you put that child up there and make her look at picture after picture of probably the most horrific time of her life? That's just how little humanity you have. A facade, ladies and gentlemen. It looks pretty on the outside. But that's what was going on in the inside. These children experience things children should never have experienced ever in their life. Ladies and gentlemen, my job is to talk to you about the evidence and what's credible in this case. What you should believe. I thought Ms. Moe said some real interesting things. She stood up in here open and still lying to tell you about evidence that was never testified to. The defendant's more than happy to talk. She talked to everybody. I will submit to you, every time she opens her mouth, a lie comes out. And if they lie about the little things, they'll lie about the big things. And that's exactly what they do. The injuries Ms. Lambert saw. At first they tried to insinuate, oh, those were old injuries. They were from the other foster parents. That had nothing to do with us. But then Ms. White came back and said, no, we had a conversation about the injuries that Ms. Lambert saw. So we know it had nothing to do with when they were with the Browns or stuff that was going on in Ms. Lambert's house. In fact, I think several defects workers come in and said, Ms. Lambert is exemplary as a foster parent. I need more like her. And what did Ms. Lambert tell you? The defendant said when she confronted her about those injuries, defects cannot give me kids and expect that they don't come back without injuries. Oh, she didn't say that. So Ms. Lambert's a liar. I would submit, and you get to decide who's credible, but I would submit to you that Ms. Lambert is credible. And now they tell you, oh, that's not an injury, that's not a bruise, that's not, but I would say right here, ladies and gentlemen, that's not normal. And Ms. Lambert said she didn't look like that when she left my house. And the pictures were taken on July 9th, not on June 28th. They were working at the Banana Republic. Because see, June 28th became such a big deal because Ms. Lambert notated in her documentation that this happened on June 28th. And if you look at Ms. Lambert's documentation, on the bottom it says June 21st, and that's talking about Ms. Newman coming for counseling. And then she goes back up and puts in what she remembers going on with the girls because that's where all of her information about injuries are. And it really doesn't matter, ladies and gentlemen, because it's a picture of what she saw. Pictures of scrapes on her hand, bruise under her eye, a burn in her hand. But they don't want you to think about that. But they want you to forget about the lie that they told. They were working at the Banana Republic. And I'm glad I got a whole bunch of people working with me. Because we got to keep up with these lies. So we got to run out. We got to find somebody from Banana Republic with Kimball. Yes, she was our witness, but I'm sure it's quite clear that's her friend. That's where she stayed, just like Summer Wells when she was here. That's who brought her to court. And what did she say? Oh, we were working. She didn't say, oh, I was just scheduled and we were going in, but we weren't going to get paid. That's just unreasonable to think. I'm going to work, but I'm not getting paid. I tell you what, Sherry Boston going to pay me. If I show up, she going to pay me. But then what did we find? She wasn't there. Lie about the little things. And there's pictures, ladies and gentlemen, you'll see they was with them that weekend, doing hair, getting nails done. Why are you lying about these little things? Because there's bigger things going on that you don't want nobody to know about. They bring in witnesses that don't even have all the evidence. People are like, oh, I didn't know she had a broken leg. Oh, I didn't know she had a broken arm. Oh, I didn't know she had this. Why would you bring people in here and you haven't given them all the facts? They haven't had contact. We kept asking, what days was that? So September? Okay, we talking about October. Thank you very much. Go home. What are they doing? Why are they bringing these people in here? Distractions, lies. They were always dressed. Then you had some people come in, oh, they were well behaved. Oh, some people, oh, they was running around. We had to watch. Which one is it? See, what you can't do is keep a lie straight. Once you tell a lie, you forget the last thing you said, and then you start adding something or taking something away, because a lie is ever revolving. And that's what you've seen, their lies just continue to evolve. They brought in Joyce Spears. I don't know, maybe they were saying it was a rash that caused that scar on her stomach, but she can't even tell you what girl it was, when it was. Just distractions, I don't know. And then, ladies and gentlemen, my heart started beating. I was like, oh, shoot. He's a daycare owner. This is what we finna find out. What that lady said? Oh, no, they didn't go to my daycare. Why are you here? Lauren Banks. She fell off the ladder. Really, ladies and gentlemen? And they brought in a picture of the ladder. Great. And it's been up there for 4 years. A lie. A lie, a lie, a lie. But it's a picture of those girls in that backyard, and I want you to look at it, because it's hard to flip back and forth. I want you to see if you see a picture. When they out there with their bathing suits on, is there a ladder leaning up against anywhere? It's not, because it didn't happen. But what I found very important was she said, nah, that's not what that rooms look like to me. But what I found, they didn't ask her, well, did you call defects? Did you call the police? You've known, I think it was her sister, I'm starting to lose track, it's been a long 3 weeks. But that happened in 2015. You know your friend, your family member, your sister is sitting here charged with murder and child abuse. You never say, let me call somebody and say, hey, wait a minute, those injuries on Millie, that happened the day before. They didn't do that because that's not what happened. Lies. The patterns, ladies and gentlemen, you get to look. A ladder looks like that. Those lines are going like this. It's not consistent because she didn't fall off the ladder. What happened is that Jennifer Rosenbaum, when she wasn't getting dressed on time, hurry up, bam! That's what it's consistent with. Kim DeRozio, I don't know if a kid would be happy with those bruises. Just lying. And Mary Rosenbaum, she came in here, that's his mom, Jennifer Rosenbaum, Jennifer McDaniel. Oh, but every time we saw them, they had clothes on. Oh, I didn't even know about the broken arm. You don't tell your mama that baby had a broken arm and that's what you're accused of? Because she said, oh no, I would have been concerned. You don't tell your mama that your wife told 5 different stories about how the girl broke her leg? It would be concerning. But then she waffled back, oh, that injury on Millie, it looks like a rash. It's always a little bit of truth in all lies. I had fun with Mr. Marino. You in the military and they didn't teach you to do compressions. Really? He said, I've never been in the service, but I wouldn't want to serve with him because he gonna leave you there to die. But what is important, he said they went to South Dakota, and see, they made a big deal of all these flight arrangements, but I hope you remembered, I hope you were taking copious notes, because what Peggy said is that they said they took the girls, and I asked Millie about the flight. Millie looked confused, and Jennifer said, oh no, we ended up having to drive because we had to give Jennifer McDaniel the ticket. What did Jennifer McDaniel tell you? I was here in Atlanta. I was watching the girls. He got an honorable discharge, ladies and gentlemen. I question that. The prosecutor wouldn't want to work in my office because you don't know how to evaluate a case. The defendant is lying to you. There's evidence of abuse over and over again. You're like, I don't know if that would concern me. You shouldn't be a prosecutor. Go be a defense attorney. Summer Wells. We finna have it. She finna come in. She finna tell it to us all. First of all, I hope y'all notice, because what you get to evaluate is the demeanor. Did you see her attitude? And Miss Andrews is as nice as one of us all sitting at that table. Giving her attitude from the moment she asked her a question, because you get defensive when you're getting ready to lie. She lived 30 miles away, which probably, in Atlanta traffic, an hour drive, but she wouldn't take shit up here all the time. We going to all these events. She lying. She stayed with them last night. They didn't talk to each other. They drove in the car. They didn't talk to each other. Stop it. She had seizures. Now, we shut it down, but I want you to, if she had seizures, they would have brought a doctor in here, because the doctor is all you need. Nothing. Oh, they went to events together. They picked her up from Nana's house. She's the only person who came in here and said they was at Nana's house on October the 15th, because, see, they got to conform their lies to the evidence that has come out. Because what did Nana and Kim tell you the last time they was there? And I think Samantha White told you, and good God, that was a hard direct. But I think she finally said, no, the girls hadn't been there in weeks. And Sarah McKee and Kim, they're friends on Facebook, and they keep lying. Sarah McKee said, I didn't become friends with her until I was reaching out, trying to find out who can I tell with this information that I have that I think is real important. Because, see, they witnesses don't recognize that. They have real important information, but they waited to trial 4 years later to come tell you. But Sarah McKee didn't wait. And then she said, yes, after that, because it's a dead baby. Now, all of a sudden, she remembers they was with Peggy, and that they was Layla was walking on the 17th at Noah's Ark. Show me a picture. They showed you a whole bunch of pictures. I ain't seen not one picture of her walking nowhere. If they had it, they would have showed it to you. They don't have it because it doesn't exist. And they want to tell you, oh, her arm was fine, blah, blah, blah. We didn't say her arm was broke on October the 27th. We gave you a date range because I don't know when Jennifer broke her arm. She ain't told us when she broke her arm. The Grinch event. Layla was at the square. Don't believe me. Jennifer words. When Tessa's asking her, what about Layla? You sent me the picture of Millie dressed up like Millie who? What she said? No, she has been sick, so didn't go with us to the Grinch. Not my words, hers. See, when you ask somebody to lie, you need to tell them all the details. They in daycare at the small group at the church on Wednesday nights. What did that lady tell us? 7 p.m. And we're going to get to that lie later on and how we know it's a lie. Joseph Rosenbaum. But she did a little bit of truth. A little bit of truth. He helps with the girls. They communicate. They know everything that's going on with one another. He does. And he knew his wife was beating those kids and he did nothing. Their defense expert, Mr. Powell. He didn't even have all the facts. If you're going to bring your expert in here, should you tell him everything? And then, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you listen to his CV, his resume. It was sexual abuse. This is not a sexual abuse case. It's a physical abuse case. It's a lot different because physical abuse cases, you have concrete evidence that can corroborate, pictures of bruises, x-rays with broken arms and broken legs. Sexual assault cases, and I do those too, they're real difficult because there are no injuries. So then you can call the child a liar over and over again. But this is different. He talked about coaching and suggestibility, and I thought it was just disrespectful. You can coach a dog. Millie is not a dog. She's a living, breathing human being. How dare you compare her to a dog? It's not difficult to coach 4-year-olds. I hope somebody who's on here, my husband coaches soccer for my son, trying to gather up 4-year-olds and trying to get them to do one thing and then trying to get them to remember a lie since 2015? It's impossible. The only reason she remembered those things is because that's what she experienced. And he told you, he never said anything about finding it. And then they talked about, oh, the people that was there to interview, the way it was done, it was horrible. And I admit that's not how you should do a forensic. But what did he tell you as well as Ms. Whitmore? It doesn't matter. You can have a great interview and not have any disclosure. You can have a bad interview and have disclosure. So it's really just a distraction. Corroboration is an important factor, and we have corroboration all over this case. Chris Berry, my trial partner talked about him, I'm trying not to talk about him too long, but it's just too entertaining not to. He don't have all the facts. You bring the medical doctor in here, you have not told him all the facts. You haven't told him about the various stories about the leg being broken. And then he told you, he talked from both sides of his mouth. Oh, you can't tell pattern injuries. He can't tell you that was from a belt. But then oh, yes, those look like ladder marks. Oh, yes, those look like knuckle marks. They do. I agree with him on that. A little bit true, because she was punching that baby in the back. And she never said she was punching her in the back, because he's talking about what she told the police. Pat, 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 pat. That's not going to give you the knuckle bruises that baby had. Oh, the gripping around the waist, those are fingertips. You'll have the pictures back there. That don't look like no fingers. Loops. Linear marks. The inner thigh, oh, she was holding her this way, and she never said anything to the police about holding her in between her legs. See, they want to discredit that, because what did Dr. Messner tell you? And when he tried to explain and show, she took that picture down real fast. And then she didn't even say that. She said, I pinned her legs down and her arms down. And you get to listen to her statement. You hear it. Those are her words. They want to start making things to conform to the evidence. And I think the most disgraceful thing, he wanted to fool y'all and say y'all don't have common sense and y'all don't know what a scar looked like. That's an impression from a diaper after she was dead? That didn't even medically or scientifically make sense. Her skin is a totally different color. If you're going to bring somebody in here to give you this information, this important information, I think it should be somebody credible, somebody respectable, somebody worthy of belief, not somebody who's just going to tell you whatever they need to tell you in order to get a paycheck. And they talked about Layla's arm being a non-union fraction, but Millie, they want to forget about Millie's broken arm. They don't want to talk about the ears, Impetigo. My trial partner talked about that. It's just foolishness and lies. But he did say, you can't tell the age scientifically, to a scientific certainty. But what did he also tell you? But you can tell. And I think Mr. Chase did a really good job because you've testified to that before. Oh yes, those Jello Hues. And you will see those Jello Hues in those pictures that you will have back there with you. So we know that there were old injuries. And the Heimlich maneuver. He says, oh yes, I know it was a Heimlich, but he told you, you don't die from the Heimlich. She's just an anomaly. I left out a part. And then he talks about the chunk of chicken. It's not a chunk of chicken in that scene. And she doesn't even describe a chunk of chicken. She says that it was crumbs that came out. And she says, oh, they want you to believe Dr. Duxbury. Dr. Duxbury, he came in here and everything he says must be the truth. Well, they brought Dr. Sperry in here and they want you to believe him, who had early retirement. Forced out because you was breaking the law. They let you go. Keep your head held high rather than arrest you and fire you. And she wants you to believe that Dr. Duxbury is lying about who filled out this form. Why does he have to do that? Maybe, maybe, maybe. Well, that's what Dr. Sperry wants y'all to believe, that all of these medical anomalies is what caused this child's death. That's what they want you to believe. That's not reasonable doubt. It's foolishness. And he comes in here and he wants to explain all of the injuries after they've sat here for 2 weeks and listened to the state's evidence, and then they want to tell you that, oh, it conforms to the injuries. How much he said he was making? $7,500. Now, they want to insinuate that Dr. Messner was being paid, that Dr. Darasol was getting paid. They were on salary. He's getting expert witness testimony fees. It's a big difference. And you heard, he tells whatever for whoever when they pay him. He's a liar for hire. And he relied on the lies of the defendant to make his determination. She continually said nothing came out. She never said anything about a hunk of chicken. She never told the police to collect it. Those are all lies. You don't listen to her statement. And he said he never considered suicide. He never considered homicide? With a baby with injuries from head to toe? That's unworthy of even consideration. And she wants us to bring somebody in here to rebut that. I don't rebut for foolishness. You had 2 weeks of good, reliable, credible evidence. I don't need to back it up. You already got it. Because what did Dr. Darasol tell you? Improbable, illogical, and unreasonable. She already told you all of the lies that he was coming in here to tell what they were. Then they talked about counseling. It's so many lies.
So now you know, I mean, everyone just, unless they want to say that she needs to be arrested with some type of counseling or something, they don't think to do it. Well, I'm sure it's counselor stuff.
Yeah, I'm surprised they don't already have her in counseling. They always have us in counseling.
Yeah, they do, they have them, but she's like, I don't want her.
Yeah.
I mean, but well, to be honest, that's not really having any counselors that do, like, I don't know, she just, I don't know, this is a big huge good question because she...
Just lies, ladies and gentlemen, because what did the pathways tell you? They were not in counseling. They were too young. Then we got the daycare lie. Joseph told them, they not in daycare, we got denied. But she continues to say they were in daycare. She told Michelle Hall those injuries she saw in the 15th came from daycare. She told Peggy Banks and Kim Smith the injuries on her face came from daycare. She told Samantha White the injuries came from daycare on her wrist. She told, then on October the 6th, she told Samantha they're no longer in daycare. But lo and behold, on October the 13th, to the doctor. Oh, she goes to daycare twice a week. She telling the people at the health department they're being fed at the daycare twice a week. Ola Academy, Bethany Baptist. Hopefully this works this time. One of my favorite movies is Unusual Suspects. I hope somebody's ever seen it before. When he's sitting in that office and he start looking at different things and just start naming them because that's what he see. Oh, I'm leaving home. What do I see? Ola Academy. Oh, what do I see? Bethany Baptist. She think this is a movie. But what do we know? They never attended either one of those. And then when we shut that down, now, oh, they go to Turning Point. Then we shut that down. They don't even have daycare. And it was a Wednesday when she sent Tessa those messages. And then she goes back in November telling the police.
Now, you were going to say you have school on certain days. Are there other things to take you out of the home? And if so, do you have to take children with you, or do you have another way of, caring for them when you have to go to school, or if you're out home every day, I don't know, I'm clear if you leave for, have other business on those other days, or what.
I do what I'm always out about, but the girls are almost always with me. If I'm leaving the house, they were going with me. I go to board commissioner meetings, the girls are in attendance with me. The Republican Party meetings, the girls are in attendance with me.
So you go to school on Tuesday and Thursday.
Yeah.
And when you do that, and Joseph, he works nights or days?
He was overnight.
Overnight. So is your school during the day or evening time?
It's during the daytime.
Okay. So if you go to school on Tuesday and Thursday, did y'all have another caregiver to watch the children, or was Joseph watching?
Joseph watched.
And then, say the other days, are you almost more often not? Can you go to kids, or do you have to go do other things and they're letting someone else's care?
No, they, like, whenever I'm at home or if I was going somewhere, generally they were pretty much with me. The only time they weren't with me, they had unsupervised visitations with their grandmother.
She told the police they don't go to daycare, but yet and still, she's texting Tessa on August the 12th, saying that the daycare called, she got to go pick her up, and this is at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, not 7 o'clock on that Wednesday, because see, they're still trying to cover that lie. Oh, well, they do have stuff on Wednesday. We talking about Wednesday, the second Wednesday of that month, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, when she's texting or Facebook messaging Tessa, talking about they're in daycare. Just lies. She told her friend Chelsea it's mosquito bites. Then we talk about these hospital visits that they never went on. No Medicaid records of it, and you have it back there with them. Just manufacturing lies. You have the pictures back there. She sends those messages to Tessa on August the 12th saying, we at the doctor's office. When you get back there, you'll see, because you can't really see up here, that picture was taken on June 13th. Just manufacturing lies. She's sending messages to Alexa Battle, talking about she fell down the stairs on August the 12th. Not that she went to the hospital for an IV. And what does Alexis Battle also tell you? That she was getting spankings. She saw her give her a spanking. She said, oh, I never spanked her. Another lie. They sent this picture to Peggy talking about, oh, right before bedtime on October the 13th. The picture was taken in September. Just lie about the little things just to be lying. And we talked about all the lies that they told about her broken leg. Lie after lie after lie. A beam, you know the difference between a beam and a bar. You're a law student. We talked about Dr. Duxbury. She wrote that history of abuse, and there was, because she was abusing these girls. And she told Carpenter that it was on the 18th. She told Miss Carr, everybody gets a different version, a different story. But she don't tell the people at the gym tech. First of all, she registered as Millie Rosenbaum. That's not her name. No pictures of Layla at daycare, at gymnastics, but then all of a sudden, oh, it was a trial class. There's unsupervised play. Those people told you no way, no how. And what the teacher tell you that was involved, she was crying, she only did the floor exercises, and she was busy telling me about Tessa being on drugs. And you never reported to the staff or anybody. And then she tells Miss McKee a huge lie. I'm running out of time, so I'm past that. But you will get to listen to it. She tells her that they was getting fed their feces, they were having boiling water thrown on them. She doesn't say anything about that to the police when they asked her about the history of the kids. Because there was no physical abuse. And the biggest lie of all.
Okay, I'm going to give you instructions on how to do it. Is she still choking on it now?
No.
Because she was never choking. She was an MP. She knew how to give CPR. These injuries are not consistent. We have old injuries all over this kid's body. And what did the EMT tell you? Not Millie. The EMT told her she was dead when I got there. What did the doctors tell you? She was dead when she got to the hospital. I submit to you she had been dead for a while. I don't know how long it took her to call for help. She knows how it works. That's why she didn't go to Edison when Duxbury told her to. She's starting to alienate the family. No pictures. Because what does Tessa ask me? Send me some pictures of the girls. The last ones, all you see is their face, not their bodies. These girls had more injuries than anybody probably has seen in their entire life. From the point that they started going with these defendants, in general, bruises, burns on their hands, injuries to their leg, injuries to their face, falling down the stairs, Another falling down the stairs. To come back 4 days later, they hurt at daycare that doesn't exist. Oh, they hurt at the daycare again with the wrist. Falling on toys. So, I mean, they're just falling and breaking things in 3.5 months, and they've been fine all this time. Being a short period of time, but they've been fine. 90 injuries on Layla's body. 15 on Millie's. 3 broken bones on Layla. She had more bones than however many years she had been on this earth. 1 on Millie. And Layla was always sick. Yes, she was sick because she was healing from that old liver laceration from one of those punches on knees in the stomach. Because what did they tell you? She wouldn't be eating. She would be lethargic. And what did Sarah McKee tell you? She was just very unusual. She just hung out on the bench. She didn't jump around, try to get on anything or anything like that when she was at the gym because she was hurting. Because her body was trying to heal from those old abdominal injuries. And the funny thing about abuse, it escalates. It starts small and then it gets big. And that's why we're here, because it ended in Layla's death. Injuries by everybody. But all of these people must be liars. They talk about Michelle Hall, but she took her to Michelle Hall and said, look at her face. So they want to bring you pictures from this, from the day before or the day after. She said she fell down and she had injuries. It's in her statement. Alexis Battle, I guess she's lying too. It's despicable, people they want to call liars. And they want to bring in, oh, she was playing on the trampoline at Miss Hall's house. Miss Hall was on the stand. Nobody ever asked her, were they playing on the trampoline at your house? Did they get hurt? No, they didn't want to ask her that because she was going to tell the truth. But they bring Summer Wells in here to tell you that they was at Miss Hall's house playing on the trampoline. I guess Miss Evans Battle is lying too, because she told y'all about an injury that she saw that came from a bathtub. And then she's falling down the stairs, but she has a gate. They brought you a picture of a gate. They're not falling downstairs, they're being beaten over and over again. No one observed any injuries because there weren't any at the time when they were seeing them. They were only in the care, according to them, for the last 2 weeks of their lives. What did Millie tell you? They put a sleeve on my elbow. Nightstick. That's horrific to think about. But she has a wrap on her arm. And this, you'll see the blood that we talked about in DNA. That couch where Layla laid on, where the icy hot is in the windowsill, had Layla's blood on it. That's where she laid. Just on and on injuries. And then they talked about Messner. Well, Messner saw these, he's an advocate for children. And don't believe him when he comes in here and tells you that those marks are belts. Because Darrell didn't say it. Messner deals with abused kids. Darrell deals with dead kids. That's why he's able to tell you what those are, what those patterns look like, about those girls' hairs being pulled out. And then Darrell can come in here and tell you what could have been the mechanism that causes the injuries that killed her. Kicks, punch, knees with force and pain. And we talked about her leg being broken, her failure to go anywhere, provider shopping. They was arguing about a form. She was worried about Medicaid. Lies. No, she was worried when she went to Eggleston that they was going to figure out that she had been abusing this child and what she was saying was not true. Failure to get treatment. Healing fractures that they want to now call non-union fractures. No, they were non-healing fractures, or fractures that were having to heal themselves because they didn't get treatment. I told you he's here. What did Chelsea Herbert show you? After the arrest, he called me and said, hey, what about that injury that they showed up with back to the house and Jennifer said it happened at your house? What did Chelsea Herbert tell you? That's a lie. And they talk about Facebook postings. What if she had posted all of those positive things about Jennifer? So why is she in here lying? She's not. She's telling you the truth. He knew what was going on and didn't do anything. He put icy hot on it. And we know Millie telling the truth because she says it gets hot and then it gets cold. How would she know that unless he's been soothing those bruises that his wife has been inflicting? Standing by doing nothing. And what does mama tell you? He would tell about abuse if just Jen and not him. That's why he didn't tell his mama. That tells you right there. He was inflicting those spankings just like Miss Lambert told you Millie said he was. To kill Layla. I would infer he tells her, if you keep doing that, you're going to kill Layla. And unfortunately, she did. She asked a 12-year-old little girl and Natalie Harrington, well, did you call the police? Did you call DFAX? When did Joseph pick up a phone? When did he call the police? No, he just continues to sit there in silence. He had a And he failed her. And just to be clear, ladies and gentlemen, when I talk about...
Let's set up brief. Litigators before we get started.
To be clear, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not talking about him not saying nothing today, not saying nothing during this trial. I'm talking about in 2015 when he didn't do anything. That's what I'm talking about. Because he has a right. He don't have to get up here and say anything. He has that right. Millie's court, I hope y'all paid attention. Miss Andrews had to come all the way over here so that baby didn't have to keep looking over there again with terror in her eyes. That speaks volumes. She's been consistent since 2015. And I told you, domestic violence victims, grown people, get conflicted. Tell them to lie about it. I think the most poignant thing that she said, there are bad and good people in this world, and I can't tell the difference. That breaks my heart. Because of them. She doesn't know who's good, and she doesn't know who's bad. And that was at 7 years old, not at 4 like they want to lie and tell you. But what were they doing? They're taking on trips, giving them clothes. That's what abusers do. They behave in public. I'll submit to you, you got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old that can sit at board meetings. That's because you just got to give them that look. Move if you want to. She don't have to beat them in public. And who beats their kids in public? Oh, I'm sorry, someone else does. But let me tell you, they weren't beat, they weren't spanked, they were tortured and brutalized. But when she got safe with the Lambert, she told. And then she was telling, oh, Miss Brown influenced her. Miss Brown said in 2016 is when Millie told her what happened. At no point have you heard that there were any signs of coaching. She's able to correct them, and she's able to give details, which are very important, those contextual details. Spank for not getting dressed quickly enough. And what do we know about this case? She was trying to get to her beating. She needed to go. Layla probably was not getting up and doing what she needed to do as quickly as she needed to do. And she paid for it, and she paid for it dearly. Spank for not wiping good. She's 4. And if you tell somebody, you're going to get it worse. Icy hot, she knows how it smells, she knows how it feels. It smells like old people. Those are contextual details. Ms. Mull is right. The devil is in the details. And this baby got way too many details. She said they dragged us down by my arm. Dragging Layla down the stairs. Dragging her down the stairs. And what do they both have? Broken arms. An orange elbow sleeve. Not just an elbow sleeve, an orange one. Those are details. Punished for sleeping in the car. And what does Miss Rosenbaum tell you? Mary Rosenbaum. Every parent welcomes that. That's so important. Because that's the truth. So what parent, what great-grandmother would think, let me tell this child to tell people that she got spankings when she went to sleep in the car? It wouldn't come to your mind because it does not make sense. The reason you know that's true, because it doesn't make sense for an adult to feed that to a child. He's getting that. She had to eat vomit. Who tells a child that? No adult is going to say, tell them when you eat mashed potatoes, you throw it up and then you have to eat it. Because it's disgusting. Miss Banks didn't tell her that stuff. That's stuff that she experienced. She fell from the gymnastics bar. You got to look at whether or not what she's saying is consistent with her injuries. Maybe she did fall on the bar and she hit her elbow, but we know that didn't break her leg, her arm, because it wouldn't generate enough force. And we know Layla didn't break her leg at gymnastics. But see, she's able to tell you, and what did she say? Miss Jennifer told me Layla broke her leg at gymnastics. Miss Jennifer told me that Layla choked on chicken. Not these are things that she experienced. So what she's telling you are things she's experienced and not what she's being told by anyone. And she's able to correct people when they start to try to tell her something differently. Those are all signs of abuse. And that's what Millie and Layla experienced throughout the time that they were with the Rosenbaums. And let me tell you, that picture that they showed you of them sleeping in the car, and I submit there may be videos too, that was evidence. You sleeping, I'm going to show you this, like you do dogs. When they pee somewhere, you take it to them. That's what she was doing. You went to sleep. You're going to get your butt towed up today. That's what that was about. Not, oh, cute little pictures, they sleeping in the car. All of their injuries are consistent with what Millie says. Layla's stomach, her intestines being bruised, her pancreas being split in half, all consistent with being kneed, arms being yanked, patterns from belts, all the things that Millie described. And let me tell you about that chicken that they claimed was in the sink. And you'll have the pictures back there. There's no chicken in that sink, not one chunk. So she never told him to collect it because it wasn't there, because it was never in her throat, which is real important. If you're choking, somebody should find it somewhere. It should be on the floor, it should be in the sink, it should be in your body, nothing, nowhere. And that high chair was real clean, ladies and gentlemen. A 2-year-old eating and ain't nothing in there. She's afraid on the 911 call. She's panicked. She is, because she just killed a child. No intent. When you kick, when you punch, when you knee, you have intent. She had time to go get a blue towel. Remember, who has time to go get a blue towel when you're in such a panic and you're trying to get this child down on the floor? She didn't do any of that. All actions of a murderer. The injuries are not consistent with the description she gives for the Honeymoon. See, Ms. Mull wants to get up here and say, oh, it was thrust. She didn't say thrust like Ms. Mull was demonstrating. She said, I put her over the sink and I was patting her on her back. Then why are all her insides all torn up? She says, I dropped her on the floor. See, she's trying to cover for them injuries in her head. Oh, yeah, now I remember. She fell down the stairs, so there may be some injuries on her back. Because, see, she knew something. Somebody was going to see something. So her mind is tickling and is trying to figure out what can I tell them. She's trying to explain away the injuries that she knows that they're going to see. But it's real important in that interview when they want to start talking about those other injuries, the inner thigh, the vaginal area, the butt. We're not here to talk about that. But we are today. We've been talking about it for the last 3 weeks. And you have all the evidence to know that those injuries are not consistent with a layperson getting Honeymoon. And then we got to add Millie. How do you explain Millie having injuries on the 17th? You weren't giving her a Heimlich? No, this is all consistent with abuse over the course of time that you've been with them.
I remember them calling and asking about how the girls are doing and everything. Like, they never want to know anything until they get before court, and now it's like, oh, how was the tournament? Well, good thing I enjoyed them there because you were there.
And the box is so custody. Absolutely.
She laughs about that, ladies and gentlemen. She's talking to these kids' mother, their mother, and telling them, good thing I have not killed them yet. First of all, if you're not doing anything that would kill them, why would you make that statement? Why would you make that statement? The guilty conscience of the mind, because you know what you're doing. To their mother who has not seen them in months, who their mother is struggling emotionally with her own guilt about not having her kids. Your comment to her is, good thing I haven't killed them yet, knowing fully well that you are beating and brutalizing these children. It's heartless. It's inhumane. It's cruel. And it's evil. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we talked a lot about these defendants. I want to talk to you, like Mr. Chase said, about why we're here. In the opening statements, the defense talked about, oh, they've lost everything. Their lives have been destroyed. They wanted to talk about all their milestones. Well, let's talk about Millie. What's been lost for her? Her innocence. She knows things at an age that no child should have to know those things. No adult should have to know the things that she knows. No adult should have to endure the things that she had to endure. And she was 7 years old when she came in front of us. Cute as a button. But I want you to remember she was 4 when she was being beaten and dragged and tortured by these defendants. But she's so resilient. That's what I love about kids. They amaze me. This is a hard job to do. But to watch these babies be able to walk through that with their heads held up high, with a smile on their face. But her innocence is gone. Her life will never be what it could have been. She's a completely and totally different person because of what they did to her. But you know what, ladies and gentlemen? She's lucky. Those physical injuries she had, they have healed. Now that emotional trauma, it'll probably be with her for a lifetime. But what's good for her is she has an amazing mother who is there to support her, to care for her. A single woman who has taken on 3 kids who have come from traumatic backgrounds. And she has an amazing village of support. And I just hope for Millie that this is just a chapter that she can close and move forward in a much better way. Layla's not so lucky.
Lily, where are you going? Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
2 years old. You want to talk about loss? She lost her life because you are evil, cruel. How can you look at a 2-year-old and pick up your foot, your hand, a belt, and inflict the kind of injuries and pain that you did? A nightstick injury is what they call that break to her arm. A nightstick injury. And you didn't even go get it fixed. Despicable. She want to come in here and say, oh, they went to graduations, they went to weddings. Let me tell you something. There are so many milestones in Layla's life that she will never get to see. My son turned 13 years old today. That's a milestone. I'm here with y'all today. But it's a milestone. He is getting to be a teenager. Last week would have been Layla's 6th birthday. School supplies are out. She would have been getting ready to have her first day at school. But because of them, a milestone she will not get. She won't get no more birthdays. She won't get no more graduations. She won't get no weddings. She won't get no child. Because of them. And they want to talk about what they've lost? Unconscionable. All Tessa Daniels has is that last phone call with her baby. And for what? Like Mr. Chase told you, I can't tell you why. Because nobody can explain why somebody would put their foot up, their knee up to a baby and do what they did. And good thing the law recognizes that, and we don't have to tell you why. But I'll tell you why, ladies and gentlemen. Evil. Egregious. The acts were egregious. Vile, distasteful, and sickening. Immoral, wicked, dishonorable, and depraved. And they're liars, deceivers, provocators, like they wanted to call Millie. That's what evil represents. I know you all don't get to do it very often, but unfortunately in the job that I do, I sit in a room with evil every day. And for the last 3 weeks, we have been sitting in a room with some of the most evil people I have ever come across in my 20 years of prosecution. A baby. And then you have the nerve to get in here and continue to lie after lie after lie after lie. They should be ashamed. But I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, you have the honor and the duty to do what nobody else has been able to do. I love this quote. Evil prevails when good people do nothing. I ask that you not let evil prevail today. I ask that you hold them accountable for each and every county that indicted, all 49 of them. Because that's what they deserve. That's what Layla deserves. That's what Millie
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the time when the court gives you its instructions, in other words, what the law is that's applicable to the case. I'd like to keep you here a little longer today than I ordinarily do, so that I can make sure that you hear this immediately after the closing arguments, and that you have all of it together, and you can begin your deliberations on Monday morning when you return at 9 o'clock. If there's anybody that needs to make a quick phone call to somebody to let them know that they'll be a little late, then I think what I'm going to do is give you 10 minutes or so to do that, to make those calls. I'll let them know that you should be released from here by 6:30. All right, thank you.